Time to talk about the 49ers full schedule, instant reaction. We just went through it. While you're here, subscribe to the channel and give this video a like.
Yep. That's Guy. I'm John. Check out our podcast below in the description. We appreciate you consuming our content.
That's right. Now, there's a big stretch in this schedule that we're going to talk about, but we did a separate video about that tough 5-game stretch against the Rams, the Patriots, the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Saints. You can watch that separately. We will address it here. What was your first reaction as we watched the we didn't watch it. We just found it on the internet, actually from our buddy John Dickinson, and read the schedule. What'd you think?
I thought it's just a solid schedule. Not easy, not overly difficult, just somewhere in the middle. That if you're playing well, they should have double digits. You know, the way that it broke in terms of getting the Cowboys and the Eagles right at home. Or I guess they can play the Cowboys on the road, but getting the Eagles at home, you know, the Seattle games and the Rams games. I also just think the division, you know, Arizona last year kind of proved as a swing team. You know, they say in elections, swing states. Well, Arizona, when you think about it, Guy, when the Niners have been bad and good, they've always just played the Cardinals in these crazy games. And the Cardinals have always played Seattle well, from Bruce Arians to even to Cliff Kingsbury. So I just think that team kind of changes the dynamic of the division. You know, if they go from 5-6, are they at 8 or 9, or are they still just one of those teams you go, God, that was a tough little team, but they win 5 or 6 games? Because I know Seattle's going to be good. I know the Rams. Actually, I don't know the Rams. I think they're actually the great wild card on the schedule. Other than that, like, I think the Bills are good. I think the Redskins stink. I mean, just we can go over it.
Yeah, a couple things I'd say, and you and I know this was important to you too, because we talked about this, I think, last week or the week before. What would happen with the 2 New York games? Playing in the same stadium, would they have to make 2 trips to New York or 1? And the answer to that is 1. The Jets and the Giants back-to-back, and in week 2. Because we were like, what if you got to make a trip in November or December? What if you have to make 2 separate trips, both in cold weather months? But I think that's about as good as you could ask for, right?
Well, they don't have any bad weather games, Guy. Look at the stretch from
I would say
maybe
at New England could be in late October, right?
But see, think how big of a stretch that is, right? I'm talking. You're right. I mean, it could.
You're talking. Snow.
I'm talking 10 degrees, snow, frigid wind. If I told you that Jets Giants stretch
at the Rams at the end of November could be in the 60s.
No, at Arizona, at Dallas indoors, Buffalo at home. Imagine if I gave you Jets Giants. I think we would talk about the schedule a lot differently.
Yeah.
Even though I think we would both agree, I don't view either one of those as a playoff teams. But if I told you at Jets at Giants was 12-13, 12-20, we'd be like, ugh, that'd be a little tougher, right?
Yeah, or if you split them up and one of them was in the cold weather, I'd say, are you going to fly to New York twice and win both those games?
Agree. Traveling back and forth, how you doing it gets a little tricky.
Right. Those 2 games being where they are in date and the fact they're back-to-back does change it. And I'd say the other one, again, who knows, but maybe Seattle being in November on the road, not the January game on the road, affects things. But we saw them finish at Seattle last year. It was fine.
The one way that I look at this schedule is they can start really fast.
Yeah.
Week 1s are always weird. It's a coin flip. They'll be a big favorite in that game. But I know they're road games, and it's the National Football League. But you beat Arizona. I mean, I think we're looking at a 3-0 team. I think Philly is going – I mean, they've made the playoffs the last 3 years, but they're clearly better when healthy than they were last year, right? I mean, they should be a 10, 11, 12-win team. That's a big-time game, right?
Yeah.
That's a – I'm already fired up for that thing.
Yeah, it's a big one. I mean, 8-0 was what they started last year. That's going to be a lot harder this year. And we get into the New England game in our other video, but that game, don't dismiss that game because no Brady. New England's coming off a bye. I'll mention it. New England's the only team coming off a bye on the schedule. As you see, 5 primetime games, including the Thursday night game, the 2 Sunday night games, the Monday night game against the Bills, which is sneaky fun, and the Sunday night game at Dallas, which is pretty awesome. And Dallas, by the way, is coming off of a road game. They're at Cincinnati coming into that game. Actually, one other note, John, can I say this? Yep. Both Rams games, the Rams are coming off East Coast road games. So the Rams are coming off a game at Washington before that Week 6 Sunday night game, and the Rams are coming off a game at Tampa Week 12.
Assuming they stay on the East Coast, which I think is fair to assume, they will only technically have one body clock game, one of those west to east where you got to wake up really early and play the 10 a.m. kickoff. That's actually a 1 o'clock kickoff for them, and that would be the Jets game. And in the Giants game, same time kickoff, but you would factor in, right, you'd be acclimated and you'd be there the whole time. And then to me, once you get past that crazy stretch, which we talked about from the Rams game to the Saints game, I think you have a very manageable stretch, right? You play the Rams, you've played them consistently, you've already played them. Playing, it's a 45-minute flight. You're comfortable with what they do. The Bills Monday night game is actually, to me, a pretty big, that's a game to circle because I think the Bills during quarantine, the NFL Network within the last month and a half has replayed that playoff game where they went on the road to the Texans and ended up falling apart and losing. Check out, I'm pretty sure the score was 19-0 at one point in time. They were kicking the shit out of them.
I will not bet on Josh Allen in a road game, and I went from, damn, I was wrong, to see, I told you guys.
But they added Stephon Diggs. They should have a little more offensive firepower. They drafted our guy Zach Moss from Utah. That, they could just be. If I told you the Bills are 11-5 this year and are like the 3 or 4 seed and win that division, it's very, very realistic. Like, to me, that might be when all the dust settles and if the Niners win 10 or 11 games, went, God, that Bills game, that felt like a Seattle game, right? Just old school, hit you in the mouth. That'll be fun. I kind of like an uncommon opponent that's good at home Monday Night Football.
I'm with you. Two uniforms, not to be a kid, but two uniforms you just don't see on the field together a lot. Like, that's part of what makes Niners Cowboys great is that, yes, at least when we were growing up in the 90s, right, like that was big. But part of what makes it great is I feel like we don't get to see them play each other that much anymore.
Completely agree.
We talk in the video about the 5-game stretch again. The 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 stretch, that October 18th to October 15th before the bye. The other, I mean, you kind of brought it up here, but Buffalo, Washington, Dallas, Arizona, Seattle, going 4-1 in that stretch is going to be really hard, right?
Well, for sure. One big picture thought that helped the Niners out a lot last year is they went 5-1 in the division. They lost the one game to Seattle in the overtime game. They obviously beat them up there. They swept Arizona and they swept the Rams. Is it realistic? I mean, the Patriots could kind of do it. Like, we're going to go 5-1, 6-0 every year. Most teams, even playoff teams, you go 4-2, you're in pretty good shape. Like, I think the Niners are going to be really freaking good. I have a hard time just 5-1. Like, to me, you can be good. You can be 11 wins and go 4-2 and be a 2 seed, right? I think Arizona, last year they were kind of like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? I think this year, every guy on their couch throughout the country is, oh, what's Kyler doing? What's Kyler doing? A lot of people are going to draft him in fantasy. I think he's going to just get a lot of buzz. Like, he could take a big step. They could be a lot better with DeAndre Hopkins. Like, are they sweeping Arizona this year? Because eventually Arizona last year, Seattle didn't sweep them. Arizona beat them in a game. And back to what I was saying, Arizona always plays the Niners and Seattle tough.
Yeah.
Eventually, Arizona, they might go 6 or 7 wins. But they, to me, are going to probably determine, because they're like a swing game, who's going to win the division.
Yeah. Also, you just playing so many big games. It's hard to beat a team twice when you're at your best in both games. Let alone, we saw it last year. Are you going to be at your best in both games? I mean, at Arizona, coming off at Dallas on Sunday Night Football. I don't know. That game could be on a Saturday too, right? You could be at Arizona on a Saturday, coming off Sunday Night Football at Dallas.
True. I don't mind a shorter week in the division just because Seattle, LA, and Arizona are all relatively close. It's not that far.
Mm-hmm.
The other game, we talked about it in the other video about the stretch, but the more and more I think about it, is that Green Bay Thursday night game is just a little weird. Now, from the standpoint of they've had ownership over Green Bay when they've been good, right? When Harbaugh's teams were good, they beat them. Kyle's team was good last year. They beat the shit out of them twice. I mean, it really wasn't close.
Yeah.
You'd go, what really changed to make the gap that much closer? Roger, you're older. It's not like they added a receiver. So, but we see it every year, right? I mean, good teams lose to like the Jaguars on Thursday night games. The Raiders beat the Chiefs before on Thursday night. It's just weird shit happens on Thursday night, and they're coming off playing the Vikings at home, and the Niners are on the road at Seattle. Like, that's just
after they were on the road at New England, after they played the Rams on Sunday Night Football, before they go to New Orleans. That stretch is difficult just because of the teams. If I told you all 5 of those games were at home, you'd be like, damn, that's quite a stretch. You got lucky, but it's still a hell of a stretch. but three of the five are on the road, and the way they stack, where you go New England at Seattle back to back, and the game you feel the best about, Green Bay, is the one that's on Thursday night after Seattle. So I mean, I see 25 wins here, but it's early.
I was going to go 17. Another just swing team. Like Dallas last year, right, was pretty overrated. It turns out they just weren't that good. Down the stretch, Eagles got them pretty easily. They couldn't move the ball. Dak couldn't complete a ball. The Buffalo Bills kicked the shit out of them. Remember, was it Thanksgiving night? It was like, God, what is going on? Josh Allen just kicking their butt. Could Dallas be a lot better, though? Just be a more complete team? Even, I think last year they went 8-8, or did they go 7-9? Whatever their record was. But let's say this year, let's say they're 10 wins, so it's only a 2, but they're just better. Because I would assume they're just going to be better this year, right?
Yeah, to me that's reasonable.
Like that game is one of those I kind of fly by with my eyes because I think Jason Garrett, and you realize Jason Garrett's gone.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable to think. I also think even if they're the same team, that's still a tough game, and they were 8-8 last year.
And they're talented enough.
Yeah, they're just
like you don't just chalk that up to a dub, right?
No, I don't. Today I'll pick them in that game, but it's not. It's because if you're telling me pick the game, the Niners, I think, will be favored. But if you told me right now, hey, some weird stuff happened, Niners lose that game, I'd believe you. So,
in all seriousness, what would you say record-wise?
I haven't actually added it up yet, so let's do it right now. 4, 5. If you have a number, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I know what I view this team as.
Right.
I view them as an 11-5 team. Because I think they started so hot last year, but they won some huge games down the stretch that it's not going to look the same, and it's going, like you said, not going to start 8-0. But they're so talented. I think they, of the like Super Bowl older guy winners, they have the best young coach in the league. They have just a fantastic roster. They got so many guys returning. They're just too talented, even in a weird year. They got, no OTAs. Who knows what training camp exactly how it's going to look like. They're just too good, guy. So I wouldn't go 9, but I wouldn't go 13. I think really, really good teams. I don't think we're going to see many like 14, 15 win teams in 2020.
Yeah.
So I go 11-5.
I think they're an 11-5, 12-14, but that's not based on looking at the schedule. So
that's what I'm saying.
So I guess what I would say is, to answer your question as you were talking, just going through it, that's what I thought coming in. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be, based on the schedule, 11-5 or 12-4.
Because remember, they went 13-3 last year and lost to a shitty Atlanta Falcons team at home. Now,
schedule was a little easier.
And the Falcons were actually really hot right down the stretch. They ended up going 7-9. You're right. The schedule was easier. Like they got the Steelers with no Roethlisberger. Things change. Like you just, what if by the time you play the Packers, Rodgers had just got hurt and you're playing Jordan Love making his initial start? That's the hard part about an NFL schedule. The one individual player, if he's not playing, like if Kyler Murray rolls an ankle and you don't see him, that game's a lot different, week 7-16.
Yeah. But I think part of the fun will be, what are we saying after that New Orleans game? What does it look like, right? With 6 games still to play.
Yeah. To me, they could start really fast again. Not as long fast, but just be like, boom. Well, if they're 3-0 with Philly coming at home and the chance to then you beat Philly, you're playing the Dolphins, you're playing the Rams then at home, which you've kind of owned. You see it could snowball fast, but
6-0 going to New England. Games. That's what you just said. 6-0 going to New England. That's what you said.
Well, if they're 6-0 going to New England, I'd bump up to 12 or 13 wins.
Yeah, I just
probably
think
more realistic would be 5-1.
Yes. Yep. But again, that's based on just what we think this is a really good football team. Yeah. What do you think about this schedule? Let us know down in the comments and like the video. We appreciate it.